somebody will. Cause Republicans are rude and should be removed and act like they're imbeciles. I say, Malcolm Nance, Trump is under Putin's control. We can dance while Stephanie dances with the pole. Well, it's the Malcolm Nance. It's the Malcolm Nance. Well, it's the Malcolm Nance.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Sailor.
Good morning. Wow, what a show.
Yeah. Right?
You were fantastic, and it was just like a loading dock, wasn't it? It was filthy and hilarious.
It literally was a loading dock.
Yeah, it was like working on a battleship.
But you just kept letting Glenn Kirshner go on and on. What was I supposed to say?
Yeah,
I could barely walk after that.
You had to bring it with the D jokes. All right, listen, Malcolm Nance, you were fantastic, honey. Thank you so much for doing that for us. I know you flew in, and we were just so thrilled. The audience went nuts, of course. Also, because your job, as you know, is to scare the living out of all of us, which you did a good job, as usual, Shouty McShoutface. You, this morning, retweeted, according to U.S. defense officials, the Army is currently scrambling to deploy at least 12 air defense systems to multiple countries across the Middle East. Oh my God. I mean, obviously, this is what we asked you about Saturday, this is the fear is of a widening war in the Middle East. What do you make of all that?
Well, we do fear a widening war in the Middle East, and one of the biggest parts of that fear is that someone will decide to drag us into that war. We've already been attacked. For those of you who haven't noticed, there are Iranian proxies around the Middle East, in Iraq, in Syria, and Yemen, who have carried out attacks. First, there were some small attacks in Iraq by a group calling themselves the Righteousness and Family Organization. They're a Shia militia that is backed by Iran. They carried out attacks on our airbase and Al Assad airbase. Then an Iranian-backed Shia group in Syria carried out drone and rocket attacks on a U.S. base in Jordan.
Yeah, I should say 24 U.S. military personnel are reportedly wounded in those, what you referred to, Malcolm, American bases in Iraq and Syria. And the Brigadier General Pat Ryder suggests the attacks were backed by Iran as tensions, obviously increase around what's happening in Gaza. So sorry, just was the number of... go ahead.
That's exactly right. And a lot of those are going to be very light things. When you go running around in an air raid, you hit walls. I have, scramble on concrete, cut yourself, do things like that. And some people were injured by shrapnel or blast effect of some of these weapons, even though they had defenses against them. We also had an incident where U.S. Navy warships tracked and shot down Iranian drones that were launched from Yemen that were flying up the Saudi coast to attack Israel, including 4 cruise missiles. And the USS Carney shot those down. So Iran has decided they're going to quietly ratchet up all their proxies. Sometimes you can't control those proxies, but Iran has a pretty firm grip on them. But the war could get bigger. I wrote about this in my Substack. I commented on it in a video I made from the Middle East, from Dubai, that it could get worse. It could get a lot worse.
Yeah, what is it? John Kirby was asked, NSA obviously coordinator, was asked by Wolf Blitzer about the possibility of a widening of a U.S. going to war with Iran. Gulp. Kirby said, "I think we want to see more than anything is no widening of this conflict, no deepening of it. We continue to send a strong message to actors in the region, including Iran, that if you're thinking about jumping in here, you're thinking about deepening and widening and escalating. Don't do it. We will take our national security interests very, very seriously in the region, and we've added to the military capabilities to make sure we can do that." But it is just, it's a little stomach churning, isn't it, watching all this develop?
Yeah, it's completely stomach churning because, it's quite possible, not just that some of this will go out of control, some of these militias under Iran will start attacking us, but that they could start a wider war with Israel. I mean, Hezbollah has tens of thousands of rockets. The Shia militias that Iran has in Syria can fire from the northeast onto Israel. They can attack and try to attack the United States forces off the Lebanese coast, off the coast of northern Israel as well, creating a situation where the United States may have to evacuate 60,000 U.S. citizens out of Israel. People may want to leave Lebanon. This could get really bad to the point where it becomes a real shooting war. But all of this is to blame because Hamas terrorists went and summarily executed 1,400 Israeli citizens. That's the only reason we're in this circumstance. That no one's going to solve this war, the Palestine-Israeli crisis anytime soon. But that's why we're here.
You retweeted Eric Michael Burke, who said, a reminder that revenge is neither a political objective nor a viable strategy. There's no purely military solution to any political problem. Political objectives first have to be established, then a whole of government strategies to achieve those ends, not the other way. Give me 17. Just listen to Anthony Blinken on that real quick, Secretary of State.
At the heart of our efforts to save innocent lives in this conflict, and in every conflict for that matter, is our core belief that every civilian life is equally valuable. There is no hierarchy when it comes to protecting civilian lives. A civilian is a civilian is a civilian, no matter his or her nationality, ethnicity, age, gender, faith. That's why America mourns the loss of every single innocent life in this crisis.
Yeah, I mean, Malcolm, it's obviously reverberating here. I think we talked Saturday about, the 6-year-old Palestinian boy stabbed to death here. We don't know all the details of the Jewish synagogue president that was murdered in Detroit, but it's, we're seeing, and again, the political reverberations, obviously the Palestinian rallies and, the stories about young Muslims here aren't going to vote for Biden. I mean, when I feel like he's done an extraordinary job trying to thread, as I keep saying, this really difficult needle in what's happening over there. What do you think?
Well, he has. He's done an outrageously extraordinary job. This is my problem with these Democrats, and other people who refuse to give Joe Biden his credit. President Biden deserves an enormous amount of credit in what's going on. Yes, we have to stand by our ally Israel. This was no regular attack in the pantheon of Israeli-Palestinian crisis. This is the worst in the history of Israel. No, and I got to tell you something. I got people attacking me left and right on my Twitter feed. And if you're on my Twitter feed and you think I'm wrong, get off my Twitter feed, right? So it's as simple as this. Israeli army soldiers do not enter into Gaza or maintain the perimeter around Gaza and then kill every individual they see, man, woman, child, indiscriminately because of their mere presence, right? They were not trying, when they attacked militarily, they're not trying to wipe out the Palestinian people. I love the Palestinian people. I've worked in Palestine. My Arabic instructor way back when in 1981 was Palestinian. I speak Palestinian and Lebanese dialect Arabic.
Yeah.
All right? It's not about that. If war, people become casualties. And Blinken is right. We don't want to see children killed on either side.
Yeah.
But what Hamas did was literally the definition of genocide. They went across that border, and every man, woman, child, Christian, Muslim, Druze, foreign worker, guest worker, Israeli, they killed them and their dogs. So, I hear people going, oh, this is a Palestinian genocide. It is not. War is horrible, and we shouldn't have war. But when you come and summarily execute people, what you're going to do is you're going to cause us to come and treat you like ISIS. You're going to have to be eradicated. However, what was really good here is that Blinken and President Biden, Secretary Austin, cooled the Israelis' jets. They were just going to go running in there, and it's designed. They did this so the Israelis would come to Gaza and to create a mass attack and get world sympathy on their side. And they've got sort of, I would say it's 50-50, maybe even 60-40, that Hamas, a terrorist group that just conducted mass murder, started off a mini genocide, is backed by many people, including some very misguided students in the United States who are out there equating Hamas to, the Israeli army. The Israeli army's done some horrible things in their time. They've screwed up. Our army screwed up a lot, right? Yeah. But we don't go there to specifically kill civilians like Hamas.
I mean, that being said, a lot of Palestinian civilians are being killed, and I understand people's emotion around this issue. And I will just say, by the way, sir, I have defended you on Twitter because I know when people call you a warmonger, I'm like, you know what? Nobody hates war more than those that have had to fight it. And you're somebody that at 60 years old picked up a rifle and went over to stand with Ukraine and democracy. So it is. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a big difference between defending yourself. I had people come and say, well, you're standing for 5,000 Palestinian babies killed. First off, Hamas controls those numbers. So those numbers are sus. No one is showing us 5,000. I've been around mass murder at extinction level murders and genocide like that. And, well, not personally, but I've been to these locations. It's hard to do that. It's very hard to do that. After 3 weeks of direct door-to-door massive fightings in Fallujah, 810 civilians were killed, who were caught between the U.S. Army and 40,000 Iraqi U.S. and Army and Marines, and 5,000 Al-Qaeda. And we're not seeing how you get to 5,000, right? Even no matter the density of that area. We do not want this war. War was brought to the Israelis prior to that, but
and
Hamas
to the
is not a resistance organization, and they're not soldiers.
And to the Ukrainians, as you retweeted someone, abandoning Ukraine would devastate U.S. global credibility for a generation. The stakes are that high. Again, it's it's being morally consistent about terrorist attacks on civilians, right? I mean that's obviously
Look,
go ahead.
And wars are horrible things, people. I'm going to explain this straight to you. All right. They are swirling masses of hot, molten steel flying in every direction, exploding. And the only way to not get hurt is to leave. You have to move from that zone. And for those who say, well, Hamas is stopping us, that is an act of terrorism, right? And that, there's always civilians in the war zones. We were liberating villages in Ukraine. We would always find a babushka who refused to go no matter how much artillery was hitting that village. But this place, Gaza, you got to move. They got to move out of that area. They know what's coming. Hamas wants them there. They want them as a human shield. They want them to run and get bread for them. They want them to guard the hostages for them. This is terrorism versus an army, and there is no moral equivalent.
Yep. Malcolm, the headline, we don't have time to get to it now, we have to break, but, Trump falsely claims the U.S. had no terrorist attack during his presidency. I urge you to pick up Malcolm's latest book, They Want to Kill Americans, because just the far right-wing white supremacist inspired attacks alone, CNN fact-checked all of it, and of course that's completely untrue, right?
Yeah. Yep. And listen, follow me on Substack. All my real writing's going on there. I'm not really putting stuff out on Twitter. I'm having battles with young stupid kids who think that voting for Trump will help the Palestinian people.
Oh, geez. I mean, I gotta say, with the degree of I don't know what we're going to call it, that Donald Trump is legally based on all of the latest events, including Mark Meadows. I gotta say, Malcolm, I hope he pays for that sharing of Israeli intelligence with the Russians in the Oval Office that led directly to everything that is happening right now. That is to me the biggest act of treason, or whatever you want to call it, right? All right, Malcolm, thank you.
Oy vey.
Oy vey.
Indeed.
Thank you for Saturday. You were so fantastic and brilliant as always, and we'll talk to you next week. Fly safe.
All right, see you soon.
All right. Yay.